indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Amber Brown.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Joe Machado.
Here.
William Harper.
Here.
Renee Curtis.
Here.
Zane Cantrell. We have a quorum.
We have minutes that we need to approve for December.
Move it be approved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Joe Machado.
Yes.
William Harper.
Yes.
Renee Curtis. Zane Cantrell.
Governor's Lee's executive order, it is necessary to conduct this meeting electronically in order to protect health, public, and welfare. Do we
So
have-
move. So move.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Joe Machado.
Yes.
William Harper.
Yes.
Renee Curtis. Zane Cantrell.
There we go. Thanks. In acknowledging that, I have received both of my COVID vaccines, and I'm certainly grateful to the health department and those people who administered it. I did not have any side effects, so I'd like to recommend that any of you, as soon as you get a chance, go ahead and get that vaccine because it gives further protection. I had the Moderna vaccine, which I think is probably one of the best ones out there. So we do need to acknowledge those folks that are out there doing this. They did a wonderful job. They're very efficient. And I think those of you who go out there, you will find that it'll be that way as well. The first item we have of business is the request for the Huddleston Steel engineer, which was given to us earlier. So what do you have on that?
Thank you. Application 2020-35 involves property located near the 5000 block of Old Nashville Highway. They are seeking special exception approval for the establishment of an indoor-outdoor soccer facility located on the property in the CN Commercial Neighborhood and CG Commercial General Zoning District. This item came before you in December, and the applicant described the project, and as a result of the public hearing, the board felt that it was necessary that the applicant get with the surrounding neighbors and discuss the project further and potentially address their concerns. The applicant did submit a revised concept plan today, and I printed out a copy for you, and I'm sure the applicant will describe what took place at the meeting, what concerns were mentioned, and how they address those concerns. And so they're wanting to establish 2 outdoor soccer fields and an indoor soccer facility with associated parking. It's on the portion of this large site off of Old Nashville Highway. We posted a sign on the property, and we did receive additional phone calls after we posted the second sign. We have received one call from a resident off of Reynolds Drive who indicated that the added traffic from the parent parents and teens reporting to the site and leaving the site and attending games would be more than what that area could handle, that they had personal experience with the soccer complex off of Cherry Lane, and that people were parking on the right-of-way, just trying to find a space wherever they could. And so that was a concern of expressed by her, as well as she indicated her opposition to the request, but they did not ask to speak tonight. These are photos of the surrounding area. And let's see. This is the revised site plan that the applicant sent today, and it does show additional buffering around that single-family home that it will surround on both sides. And so I'm going to conclude our presentation with that. Our staff findings remain the same as they were in December, and I'll let the applicant speak to their meeting with the public.
And this is in a commercial, general commercial
Yes, the
zone.
property was rezoned to commercial neighborhood and commercial general a couple years ago, and outdoor entertainment facilities are considered special exceptions and in both zones. And so the indoor facility is a special exception in the commercial neighborhood zone. And if you remember, the applicant was trying to I guess the site has some challenging development conditions, and the outdoor fields would take advantage of that. And so they were limited in where they could place the indoor facility. And I imagine he will discuss that further with you.
Do we have anyone here? Are they online with this?
They should be. Yes. Clyde Roundtree.
Yeah. We're waiting for Huddleston Steel to come online. Do we have a tech problem?
Looks like someone's
I'm having
trying-
a tech problem.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Clyde Roundtree is.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just here. I just Clyde Roundtree. I'm with Steel Engineering. Just wanted to be available for any questions you may have regarding the rezoning or the BZA for the rezoning of the part of the special use exception for the soccer park. I can give you an update on kind of what happened since our last meeting.
This is Clyde Roundtree with Huddleston Steel. It looks like he's having to use the call-in via phone.
I am Danielle. It's not. My Zoom for some reason it's not working.
So if you wanted to provide a summary of your meeting with the surrounding neighbors and the commissioner?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, we had a meeting regarding the property with the landowner that is surrounded by this particular parcel, and it was a good meeting. She was encouraged. I think she may be online. I know there's a few others that are online, but we had a chance to kind of discuss the plan, discuss the program, and really asked her for her feedback. And the feedback that we received, which is really solid feedback, there was just not a whole lot of information on the concept drawing that she could respond to. So we were able to kind of tighten up the concept drawing. But the primary changes that were made on the plan that we discussed were putting a buffer around her property, which would be required with this rezoning. And so that would be a solid vegetative wall around her. And then the access drive, which is on the left or the western side of her property, we put a gate that's beyond her property, so there wouldn't be any chance of people parking adjacent to her property. So there'd be a gate. So once they come through basically to get into the soccer area, they'd have to drive past her property, past the indoor soccer facility, and then we rearranged the indoor soccer facility, and she basically told us that she would like it parallel to her home, and that way it would shield as much of the activity beyond that, beyond the building, and any lighting that would be associated with the fields in the future, that would also help shield those lights. So we were able to basically turn the building parallel to her property. We moved it off the property line. Before we met with her, we had some parking between herself and the building. All that parking's been moved, all to the northern portion of the site. So really, anyone who's coming to participate in the activity on the property would have to drive past her home, past the enclosed facility, and then they would be basically on the northern side of the facility. We even talked about moving the garage door, any access doors, to the northern side of the building as well. So there would literally be no activity that would be related to the actual programming of the soccer fields that would be something to which the LSC. And so, and then we talked about gating, how the property would be gated, and it would all be fenced. The whole perimeter would be fenced on the property. Let me see if there's anything else. We did talk about a sign, and asked, it's really a wayfinding sign. It's not a marketing sign. It's a wayfinding sign. So all those items were discussed. And I think the biggest things that she felt like we were being responsive to were providing the buffer around her property and making sure the building, as far as the broad side of the building would be behind her. And she asked as far as we could put it back and still meet the parking requirements that we would have, and that's what we've got. So that's a general overview of all the components that we responded to once meeting with her.
Go ahead.
Clyde, this is Gary Farley. So
Hi, Gary.
the house, the existing home, the lady there, so is she 100% satisfied with the changes you made?
Yeah, I think she is. There was one request that she had as far as she has some drainage that gets into her. She has a drive-under garage or a car park garage, and she has some flooding in there. So she asked us if we could, in the construction process, see if we can reroute or alleviate the problem she's having with that it's just kind of a natural flow that's running off this property into her yard. Somehow that didn't get addressed whenever her yard was constructed. So we told her we'd be more than happy to try to make sure we can do that. We couldn't guarantee it because we don't know all the circumstances from a grading standpoint, but that's something we'd like to do as far as helping her feel like we were working with her. And, she's as satisfied as you could be knowing that the area around her is turning commercial. She understands that she has a commercial lot, and in the future, she wouldn't buy it with that in mind. But after kind of looking what's going on, and we actually had there's another rezoning that's coming up on the next parcel down, and that owner also came to the meeting following the soccer complex person. So she got basically 2 meetings that were related to commercial activities that's going on around her home. So it's one of those kind of, everyone's like, you're in a good spot for selling your property one day. But, I think she felt like we heard her, we responded to her, and she kind of realizes that it's kind of inevitable that something's going to happen behind her. It is zone commercial as it stands now.
Okay. As far as I know the last time I had concerns with traffic as far as Old Nashville Highway, with this parcel right here, with the mobile home park across the street, and with the rock quarry, right down the street, everything combined, I had a concern as far as unsafe traffic. Was anything looked at in this meeting to take care of those challenges?
We discussed it as far as a lot of the activity, as far as the weekly Monday through Friday activity in the soccer complex would be after hours. It's pretty much it'd be after school, after work. The primary daytime use will be during the weekends, which is really primarily Saturday, and then Sunday after, kind of afternoon. So as a result, as far as traffic patterns related to commercial activity with the quarry, we can have it'll probably be primarily functioning after the quarry's, primary days done, and then the weekends.
That's all
Amber,
I-
go ahead.
that's all I've
Are you
got.
through? Okay, Amber, go ahead.
So, looking at this concept plan, Claude, my biggest concern is the parking. So, is this the only point that you have on this concept plan for parking? Like, is the rest of the property surrounding, is it going to be paved? And what other options are going to be provided if it is only that one section for parking?
The parking, there's really two parking concerns. One is servicing the indoor facility, and before we had a parking lot that was kind of dedicated towards that, but by combining both of them, we were able to kind of concentrate the parking in one area. So what you see in that parking area, that's where the parking is going to go. As far as the actual calculations and design of the parking lot, that hasn't been completed, but it's basically centralized parking that would service both the indoor facility as well as the surface fields. He did say that the indoor facility is really primarily a winter kind of, it's turf and it's used in the winter. In the better months where the weather's better, they basically use the outdoor fields 100%. So there should be adequate parking. Whether what surface that is and how it's designed, that hasn't been determined. But that is the only parking lot for the whole facility.
Thank you.
Gary?
And then she did want to make sure, and we do talk about this with Commissioner Keys, as far as making sure that we had ample parking for what is projected with the users. And we were going to do some sort of berming, striping, or something that precludes any sort of, parallel parking on the main access drive. That was her concern, that we wouldn't be, there wouldn't be parking all around the perimeter of her property line. So we feel like we can accommodate that by making sure that, we encourage people. And by putting that parking lot more central to the overall site, it'll preclude people, parking by her house and walking all the way down the access drive. It'll encourage them to come on back into the property, because that's really where the activity is anyways.
Clyde, we have another question here.
Okay, got a few questions. The gate, who's going to maintain that, and is it just a regular fence gate, or is it an access gate with cards? How's that going to work?
To my understanding from the owner, he'll be responsible for all the on-site activity. These are basically, for lack of a better term, they're somewhat of like a club. These are people that play soccer together, so they're kind of a known commodity. There isn't a lot of activity with this particular group that would be for people who are not inside this group. So there's a lot of internal controls as far as the way they program their fields, the way they network with each other. It's not like someone's gonna be coming from Alabama and has no idea, who this group is. I think I projected last time that it might have some tournament type of activity. It really is not that at all. It's much more of a localized kind of soccer club where, and he says from a policing standpoint, he was very, very, very demonstrative about the fact that the folks that are involved with these fields will have a level of ownership, because it's pretty much a pretty tight network of people that will be using this facility. And so the owner of the property would be the one who controls the gate. And we did talk about the gate in terms of making sure it wasn't something where people could get on the property. It wouldn't just be for a vehicular type of limitation. We want to make sure that these fields aren't being used by people who are just basically circumventing the gate on foot. So the perception is that the fencing around the property as well as the gate would be something that would protect from pedestrians, getting on the property as well as, unwanted vehicles.
Okay, is the drive all the way back in the parking lot, is it paved or going to be gravel?
That's more of a what the county's going to require of us in site plan. I know that ultimately it'll be some kind of a paved driveway and parking area. I'm just not sure if that'll be phase one. I think there is some requirement for a dust-free surface from the county site planning standpoint, but whether that would just be primarily for the access drive and the indoor facility, and maybe limit those, and then eventually as money comes, they'll go ahead and surface the whole parking area eventually.
I asked the question because of the dust for the lady that's living in the house.
Yes, sir.
So that big building that's going to be right behind her house, where is the runoff going to go? Is it going to go on to her?
No, there is. I mean, we'll have to control all the site runoff on site that we generate. But I think that there's a if you can see on the site plan I provided, there's a hatch line. That's kind of the soils area, and I think there's a little bit of a draw down. The way she described it's almost like right on the corner of her home, right on the corner of her lot. There's like a swale that's running basically at an angle, right into her garage. So we told her we do our best to kind of alleviate that concern for her garage, but we have to make sure our drainage will be handled. We haven't done a drainage study as far as exactly how it's going to be handled, but our responsibility. The actual facility itself, the solid surfaces will all have gutters, and there'll be piping that places the water where we want it.
How many parking spaces are in the parking lot?
That hasn't been determined. The parking, there's some flexibility. The fields are not taking up the whole length of the rear of the property. I would say there's probably going to be 60 to 70 spaces, I would think, once it's finished out. But we haven't got to that level of detail yet on the parking lot design.
The last question
I think what the owner said. I'm sorry. What the owner said is trying to bring some clarity. Is that the nature of this? So let's just call it a soccer club, because that's really kind of how it functions. They flip those fields. So what happens is if there's an hour-long schedule on a field or an hour-and-a-half game, once that game is completed, that group leaves and another group comes in. So it's not kind of an accruing type of population. They don't like one comes at 8, then the next one comes at 9, and the ones at 8 stay. He tends to say that because it's only 2 fields, there's a lot of activity that people come and they go, and they don't really stay after the games they play. Maybe like a 10-minute to 15-minute lag time. He said the only games that they may stay is the last game, because they know it's the end. That's the last game. He says there's a little bit more socializing after that, but he says we made a commitment to the owner, to the adjacent property owner, that whatever that last game schedule is, that those lights would come off about 30 minutes after that last game. So they have to do a little cleanup, a little bit of reorganizing on the field, and then they'd be off the property.
The last question I have for you, when we had the meeting in December,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
there was a lot more than just that lady here at the meeting. There were a lot of other neighbors. Were they talked to as well?
The man who spoke on the phone was her brother, and so he was the one who spoke first, and I think he was not at our meeting. I'm not even sure if he's in town. I think that they probably dialogued. I don't know for sure about that. The other person who called in last time was the owner of the trailer park, and we reached out to him. Both myself and Commissioner Key did, and I have not spoken to him directly. I left him a message. He was invited to our meeting. There's been no dialogue directly with him.
Thank you.
Renee, go ahead.
There I am. I had a couple of questions. Concerning the gate, going to tournaments, a lot of times they charge a fee to get in. And if there is going to be a fee to get into tournaments or games or anything, and you're collecting at the gate, then where are all these people going to be lined up going down Old Nashville Highway trying to get in, waiting on their turn to pay?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's really not a tournament type of facility. It's these folks, I think they pay a team fee as far as it. From what I understand from the owner, the potential owner, is it's more of a soccer club, which means they are all in relationship to one another. They kind of know two fields will satisfy the needs of their clubhouse, and then the indoor facility will satisfy the need for the winter months. So I think the idea of it being a tournament is not really accurate. I think these folks come. I think the teams pay some sort of a field fee, through the club versus at a gate. So I don't anticipate any kind of a ticket situation or any sort of any sort of queuing line in order to get on the property. I think when it's game time, the gates are open. People drive into the parking lot, much like they do at a typical park.
Okay, and then also, I don't see anything referring to concessions or concession stand or concessions trailer. Is there going to be anything like that on site?
There's not. There'll be a bathroom will be inside the indoor facility, and that's really it. There may be some kind of a vending machine potentially on the indoor facility. It's not a real big facility, so they don't have an office or anything in there. It's just basically a bathroom that really supports the activity of the players. There's no gift shop or merchandise, or it's purely a soccer come play and go. And that's everything that the owner projected to us. I think I think this club is kind of working at different fields around the region. I think they kind of go different areas, but I got the sense that it's a pretty well established group of people that would be. He said it's so well established that everyone inside the club would feel a lot of ownership for those fields. So he wasn't concerned at all about trash or concerned about abuse on the property, because it's kind of an existing network that has that kind of concern. It really becomes kind of their soccer area in a sense.
Okay.
It's public, but it's not a for public kind of. It's not like I can just walk up there and play in those fields. I'd have to be part of that club.
Okay. One last thing, the sign. What type of sign do you plan on doing? Is it going to be lighted for her, the homeowner's inconvenience or convenience, however? Are you going to address the sign? Is it going to be digital? Is it just going to be a trailer sign?
The best way he described it is all he needs is a wayfinding sign that would probably be some sort of something that says the address. And he says, candidly, it's one of those kind of things where it's not needed for a retail or commercial type of sign like you're trying to draw in a customer. He says really all he needs is for someone who's new to the property to know where to turn.
Well,
so
also for
I don't,
emergency vehicles,
whether it's lit or not, that's a question mark. I'm sorry.
Emergency vehicles, you'll have an address sign, and then there's plenty of room on this driveway to get through with emergency vehicles, ambulances, and whatever that needs to be done.
Yeah, we'll have to be sure of that. It's going to have to be a two-way kind of access drive. And the gate would be...
Is there one way in and one way out? Is that right? One way in and one way
out? No, it's just basically it's a flag lot. And, this one's a horseshoe, but that access drive would be on the westernmost side. It'd be a 2-lane all the way past the all the way into the parking lot. And then there wouldn't be any occasion where...
A fire truck could get in there?
I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll have to be sure of that from a site planning standpoint. All the fire codes and everything related to that structure will have to be, addressed in site plan.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Renee, were you through? Bill?
Will you describe about that gate, how big it is, which way it opens?
Well, again, it hasn't been designed as much as what I understand. We're projecting is a gate that would be, I would see it being a double gate. That it wouldn't be an operable like a mechanized gate. It more than likely when the activities happen at those fields, it'll be in an open position, and whenever activities are completed on the field, it'd be closed. It is a gate that would prohibit pedestrians. It wouldn't be like I could just walk around, like a bar that would keep a truck out and go right onto they don't really want anyone on the facility that doesn't belong there, especially any kind of after-hour kind of situation. The property the next parcel over that we're also working on a rezone is going to be potentially a pool company and some commercial buildings. So they want to make sure that there's no there's no way to get on the property outside of going through the front gate. And then as far as the height of the gate, I could easily see it being a 6-foot gate because it'd be associated with keeping pedestrians and vehicles out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll open this for a public hearing now at this time. Do we have anyone calling in?
No, we did not have anyone sign up to speak, but there may be people here in the audience.
If you'll come around, please, to the podium.
I didn't mention this during the staff presentation, but typically non-residential, this project will have to go through site plan review. They're going to have to address stormwater issues. They'll have to address the driveway widths. It'll have to meet our development standards. The only thing that the board may want we do have buffering requirements between non-residential and residential uses. He's showing a buffer here. It doesn't necessarily prescribe the number of trees or the type of buffer, but if that's something that if the board felt it was necessary to go beyond what our code said, they could incorporate it in its approval or ask staff to look at the buffering more specifically this residential area during site plan review. But they would be required to provide a buffer of, I believe it's 30 feet. They can reduce it if they provide vegetation and solid fencing. But there again, Mr. Roundtree has not indicated what type of buffering they provide, just that they're going to provide some type of buffer that surrounds that entire property. But we would be looking for a buffer also.
Okay, we're open for a public hearing. If you'll state your name and your business, please.
My name is Josh Cannon. I own property at 2601 Thurston Drive, which is basically next door to this. I just wanted to say that I support this project, and I think that it would be a good addition to the area. And I think it's a better use than some of the alternatives that this property could be used for, other types of businesses that might not be as low of an impact as this one. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Next. Come on.
Laurie Eastep, homeowner. They're 5040 Old Nashville. I did meet with Mr. Roundtree, and yes, he definitely, we discussed my concerns, and I think that they're, attempting to address them, but the concerns as far as the traffic are still there, and there are still concerns. During our meeting, I know that from what I understand, that it will be used every day, pretty much, and into the night. And so most of these games, I think, are for adults, not children, which in itself is kind of almost more concerning, I guess, than just families coming in. But I don't know. I'm opposed to it. I think that originally it was established to be residential commercial, and there was a reason for that, not just to be a commercial. And so I don't want to be a problem. And if I do, I will be a good neighbor if it's approved. But I do want to state that I am opposed to it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, my name's Ben Livingston. I wanted to come and speak to a couple of questions. You guys may know My father and I were the ones that built the indoor soccer complex, football complex at Oakland High School. And so I actually managed that facility for Oakland High School for 5 years and got to know that soccer community in this town probably as well as anybody that doesn't play soccer. So I've never played a game of soccer in my life, but I know all the rules now pretty well. I do know this community, and they're right in that a lot of the traffic is really going to be weekend traffic. And these guys, when they come to the games, they play their game and then they leave. Remember, most of it on the weekends, it's mostly in the afternoons on Saturdays and Sundays, it's adults. It's not mommies and daddies coming with their children and their grandparents and everybody else. You have some of that on Saturday mornings, and sometimes, but that's generally only during the winter time. And then during the spring, summer, and fall, they don't use the indoor. They all play outdoors somewhere. And so the guys that are going to use the outdoor fields and the indoors are a lot of, it's kind of, I think the way Clyde explained it is a pretty good, it's kind of a club. It's not a retail place where people are, going to be coming and driving by and going, oh, that's in there, let's go. These people are going to be looking for this spot. And so the traffic is, as far as the accumulated traffic, there really isn't any, because if you've ever been to the indoor complex at Oakland High School, you know that there's no parking around that indoor facility at Oakland. There's zero parking. You've got the football training facility that's next to it, and there's 6-8 parking spots there, and then you've got the parking lot that goes down the side of in between the annex at Oakland and the main school. And I beg to say, those parking spots only probably halfway down ever got full at its max point. And even that was only the maximum it ever got was when they would have the indoor adult leagues that would play, but that was only kind of in the winter time. And so, the traffic is not an accumulative traffic. It does flow. And it's really not that much, because most of these guys work, they come together, they are a group and they know each other. And so the traffic is not, from my perspective, having seen it, I wouldn't think that would be, even though I understand everybody's concerns, but I don't see that as being an issue. And I did want to make one comment. The owner did tell me that he is planning on paving that road that goes down the side. So the issue of possibly any dust going onto the neighbor's property, that is really kind of off the table. And it will be gated. The gate question, that's going to be gated, and these guys are really good. In all the years that I managed the thing at Oakland High School, there was never an incident. These are good guys. They're there to play soccer. They work. They've got families, and they'll take care of the place. And as far as I know the owner of the property doesn't want anything there, and I can't blame her. I wouldn't either. But these guys are going to be, probably for commercial property, they're going to be as good a neighbor as she could probably ask for. I mean, the owner is addressing everything that she's really asked for. It's commercial property, and so we just want to I just wanted to let you guys know that. And if there's anybody who's got a question for me, I'll answer it. But
Gary, go ahead.
Ben, I've got a lot of respect for you, and I got your family. I've known your family for a long time. But the problem that I've got right now that I can't get out of my system is we're talking about roughly 70 spaces, roughly 70 vehicles.
Right.
The difference between the traffic here on Old Nashville Highway versus Oakland High School, Old Nashville Highway is
it's a busy thoroughfare.
It's a busy road.
Yeah.
It's a bad road.
Yeah.
You put that much traffic out on Old Nashville Highway versus DeJarnett Lane or Patriot,
right.
Out in there. To me, it's a little different.
Well, it would be if it was all coming and going at the same time, but it doesn't. I mean, it just doesn't happen that way. It really is a flow, because, the way these guys play, if they come and play from 8 to 9 and 9 to 10, the guys that are coming for the 8 to 9 game are there, and then they leave. The guys that are coming for the 9 to 10 game, they come and then they leave. And so it's not like a concert.
There's no spectators?
Only time you ever have spectators is with the children. The adults, they really don't have a lot of spectators. I mean, that's just from what I saw at Oakland High School. I mean,
How many are playing at a time? Because I don't really know soccer that well.
The indoor will be 7 on 7. There'll be 7
Okay.
players on each team in the indoor. Because the indoor, if you've ever been to the one at Oakland, this thing's going to be basically the same size. It may be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, but it's going to be basically the same size. And so you'll have 7 on 7 on the inside. Now, the outdoor fields are going to be full-size fields. And, they'll have just the regulation soccer on the outside fields. But most of the youth will be using the indoors during the winter, and I'm sure the youth will use the outdoors some in the summer as well. But again, remember, like you were speaking to Cherry Lane earlier, now this is that complex over on Siegel over there catches all the traffic. And that's very different from what this is going to receive, because this really is kind of a tight-knit group of guys. And it doesn't get that retail pull, quote unquote, that you would get from a normal soccer venue. So I don't see it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I hope I answered that to some degree. But it's going to have a flow. It won't have it. It won't be like the concert that starts at 7 o'clock, and you have 500 people trying to come in at once. It just doesn't flow that way. And these guys, when they're coming to play from 8 to 9. And there was games at 3 and 4 afternoon. They don't come at 3 o'clock and wait till their game at 8 o'clock. They'll show up at 7:30, and if they're going to play at 8, when they're done at 9, they're gone. And they don't hang around. And that was the thing from Oakland that we always worried about when we did that. We always concerned that we were going to have guys hanging around. There was going to be issues, and it never really materialized. And it really worked well. It was kind of surprising, but it really lends to the type of groups that play there, because it really isn't broad-based. It's these guys they know each other, and it's the same guys pretty much week in and week out, and it's so anyhow.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
My name is Philip Hearn. I live in the immediate area of the 2 sites that we're speaking of. Mr. Roundtree did invite me to the meeting. I really didn't see a reason going. My concerns are more with the traffic. I didn't think Mr. Roundtree could help me with that. I think he's doing a good job what he has to work with on the engineering of the property, although now that we brought up the paving there, I'm wondering, the property next door that's coming up that he's working with, the pool company, if they're going to get a lot of that drainage that's going to get collected there, because that's already a flood zone. I have trouble with the roads ponding there in front of my property because of my culvert leading over to across the road isn't quite doing the job that it probably should do. But traffic was my big issue. Now, I will tell you this, from the 840 overpass to probably the Vulcan Quarry rear entrance, a lot of small hills and dips right there. This soccer complex is going to be right there in the middle of all of that. Now, of that intersection right there, there's 3 particular little dips. I just actually had one of my folks that live on the property was in a wreck 3 days ago, and the issue was well, I just didn't see that car coming over the hill. Well, we're going to put this 2-lane entrance to this soccer field right here at the entrance and exit of this. I'm going to say it's probably over 100 houses in this neighborhood. Most of these folks don't have a clue of what's fixing to happen here because they really didn't get a good idea of what's coming. Where there's only a few that actually got this little piece of mail here with 500 feet. It doesn't go very far because the neighborhood's a lot deeper than that. I think the soccer field is a good idea. Considering what could come there. I think Josh made some good points himself. It would be a good thing considering what could be there. I think traffic, drainage are things that we really need to watch here and think about, because here shortly we're fixing to have 2 communities that were within a half a mile of us that are growing, and they're not all going to go to Nashville to work. Some of them are going to come to Murfreesboro, and they're going to use the Asbury Road at the 840 overpass, as well as the Horde Road, and the Asbury Road, so to get on the Old Nashville Highway. So between those 2 neighborhoods, we've got superior landscaping that's fixing to come into our area with all of their fleets of trucks. We need to do something about the traffic. Now, at this in 2018, when I think Donnell said this zoning was approved to go to commercial, at that time, the late Steve Irving, who was our commissioner at the time, this was all approved, but was approved with conditions. I never did understand what those conditions were, although Steve did tell me that one of those conditions was a basic traffic study. Just see how many people's coming through there. Because just because Vulcan, I don't know that Vulcan for sure owns the quarry right now, it could be LoJack. At any given time, this could go on the weekend or anything. LoJack can pick up a job for resurfacing. So here we got 20 dump trucks coming in at the rear entrance of the LoJack site, hauling in and out. We've got that happening at any given time through the year. They could do a paving job. Plus, we've got to look too, we can have a load of dump trucks coming in there on the filling up of that quarry that's going on at this time. So my base thing here is traffic, and probably second that with drainage. Both of those being issues that we need to look at, because we're doing a lot of approving and we're bringing in a lot of new commercial stuff, but it comes with a lot of traffic, a lot of wide loads, a lot of dump trucks, a lot of material moving down through that road right there. We were fortunate maybe 3 or 4 years ago to have the county come out and I think put a little 16-inch some kind of shoulder on the side of the road there, but that has pretty well disintegrated or gotten covered with grass, so that's creating a ponding issue now on our road right there from the 840 overpass to the Vulcan rear entrance. Those are concerns for me, as well as all of the families that I deal with in my park there at that entrance. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner, come around.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So I was here in December, and I owe you another visit. So let me tell you about my confidence since then. So I'm confident that the seller wants to sell, and I'm confident that the buyer wants to buy. There's some contingencies. I'm confident that you're going to make a decision tonight on this exception, and I'm confident in our planning commission that will take on the issues that a lot of you addressed tonight, the traffic, the drainage, very much a concern of my constituents. So I'm here to make sure that we have a good relationship. I'm here representing the county in this district. I want to make sure that we have good neighbors, not just the neighbors that are there now, but who is coming in here. So here's what I'm confident as well. On January 27th, we met for 3 hours. I sat in this meeting for 3 hours. I learned a lot. The property owner was there. She had many concerns. Clyde, the potential owners were there. And it was discussed. And I'm confident that given the known circumstances, that all issues were addressed to the best of the owner's ability and Clyde's ability. There are some things that are out of the known right now, which will be addressed for a site plan. They'll have to be addressed. So I'm confident this is commercial property. Let's don't lose sight of that. It is commercial property. As we sat there in this meeting as well, there was another set of owners, potential owners, contingents, and they met with property owner as well. Clyde had the forethought to bring them in as well while we had one meeting, and we discussed that. There are a lot of, with it being commercial, there are a lot of other opportunities that could go in here. I'm confident that if this potential property owner doesn't become a good neighbor, then we've got an enforcement issue. But given all the circumstances that were presented to the owner and to Clyde, I feel confident that they made the best attempt to modify, there was many modifications, to modify above and beyond what could be expected. I'll answer any questions.
So the lady that owns the house is vehemently against it.
I wouldn't use, was that a question? Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, too.
I haven't finished.
Sorry.
So how do you reconcile and will not adversely affect the property in the area which is located? How is it not going to adversely affect her? She's the one that's got to live with it. We're going to be home. So please.
It's a great question. I don't have the wherewithal to answer that. But I do depend and I have confidence in my planning commission or for the site plan. The site plan, all these will be addressed. Now,
so how would you explain that to her?
we explained it. She was at the meeting with us. I mean, I don't, now you use the word vehemently. I don't, there wasn't that. That's right. But she's not against the soccer park coming. She's against any development coming in the back of her home, which I would be.
She said she was against what we're considering tonight.
Okay.
And that's all we can make a decision about.
I understand. And you have a decision to make. I understand. I support her as well. I support all the neighbors as well. I mean, it's not my position not to.
You said you're saying, I'll say mine here in a minute.
Use your mic, please.
I said, he said his say, I'll say mine here in a minute.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be antagonistic to you.
I'm not on trial here. I'm just giving you the confidence levels that I've seen. And I don't envy your position. You have a decision to make. The decision to make is the exception to this decision, which it is a commercial property. And I can certainly see all points brought up. Certainly.
A lot of weight because you represent that community.
That's correct.
So do you have a recommendation?
I also represent growth in that area, and I want to make sure that we have good growth in that area. Certainly.
So do you have a recommendation?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I support both entities in this matter.
Let's not get into a debate about this. Okay.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Could any other kind of commercial business come in there that would be worse? I'm just looking at a possibility.
It depends on who you ask. I don't understand. Perhaps, sure.
There's a variety of
Worse.
uses. The property is owned both commercial neighborhood and commercial general. Commercial general is our most intense commercial district. It allows transient accommodations, which would be hotels. It allows outdoor car lots that would allow for car sales or any kind of motor vehicle sales. So that district is reserved for those areas that, and it was rezoned in 2018, so it was considered by the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners as recent as 2018 as suitable for the CG zone. And it could be, depending on who you ask, it could be, I guess, more intense development than what's being proposed tonight.
Any other questions? Commissioner, thank you. Appreciate
Thank you, sir.
your sharing. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing now. We've had a lot of questions here, and we've spent quite a bit of time on this issue last time, what it was December and now. Just point out to everyone according to our staff findings, this meets the general requirements for special exemption. Now, it's never going to be perfect out there. It's not going to be perfect anywhere in this county. You've got problems with traffic. You're going to always have problems with traffic the way we're growing. You see cars from all over the United States here. You wonder why. On my way up here today, I noticed one license plate from Mississippi, which it may not be unusual. You see people from all over the country coming in here. So we're going to have a lot of traffic problems. I've always been told by attorneys, but always different attorneys, that if there is a traffic problem in a general area, it's the responsibility of the county road department to take care of that. I don't know if that's changed or not. I guess it would depend on how bad the traffic problem is. So, any further discussion? Amber, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know Gary's going to take a minute. So I still have just huge concerns around the parking and traffic, of course. I know that growth is going to happen, and I fully support that. But I think where I'm really stuck is if we approve this, and we've heard the use of what's going to happen to current date, but I'm thinking future state. If a new owner comes in and they start supporting youth activities, and we go back to what Renee mentioned about the gating and traffic lining up. So I guess my biggest question would be, if we approve this today and the property is sold, will what we've approved today stand for the new owner? Or will they have to come back through a different approval process?
A conditional use, special exception runs with the land.
Perfect, thank you.
Gary?
You're right, traffic is traffic, but my concern, I see Mississippi tags going down Broad Street, California tags going down, but it's the location, and it is commercial, and there should be some commercial property out there. I'm for that, but I think it's the wrong location for this type of business, personally. I have a concern about this much traffic being added to the traffic that's already out there on that narrow road. That is a dangerous road. The Old Nashville Highway is dangerous. So that's my concerns that I can't get away from for the life of me, is dumping that much more traffic onto a road that's not what it should be with all the other traffic that's out there already. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, we've discussed this. I'll entertain a motion.
And with that being said, I'll make a motion to deny the request because of the unsafe conditions, and it affects. And also, I didn't say this, but it also affects due hardship on the lady that this property is surrounding in that existing home.
I'll second.
Motion that it be denied with these stipulations. Y'all get that? Do I have a second to it?
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
No.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. It is denied. Now we're moving into new business. And let me remind those of you who may be looking to this dance studio, the Orrin Smith Dance Studio on Manchester Pike. That will not come up tonight, and there will not be a public hearing on that. It's my understanding it's pulled till next month. So if you have an interest in that, it will not come up tonight. Okay, the first business we have is with Mike Pittard. And this is a variance relief for a front yard setback. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application BZA 2021-01 involves property located along Compton Road. They are seeking variance relief of 10 feet from the platted front yard setback of 104 feet for a structure to be located in the RM zoning district. This is the lot in question. It was a part or owned by the adjacent landowner, and that's why you see the detached structure that's located on it. The applicant has acquired the property and would like to construct a single-family home upon the property for their residents. And the platted lot, the plat was recorded in 1959 that created this lot. In 1959, they imposed a 107-foot setback along Compton Road. That was later reduced to 104 feet because of the acquisition of right-of-way along Compton Road. The applicant would like to place his home at 94 feet from the front yard. That would allow him to construct his home and keep his soils intact where he wouldn't reduce his soil area, and also be located in a manner that allows him to retain the existing detached structure. Now, the applicant had options. He could seek to replat the property and impose a 40-foot setback, which the RM zone allows for. However, it is a cumbersome process, and he elected to apply for a variance relief. There are special conditions that are specific to this particular property in that the platted setback far exceeds the established front yard setback for the RM zone. And these are photos of the surrounding area. And we received one informational call regarding this request, and we found that it meets most of the criteria for special variance relief. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? Do you have a call in on it? Okay, come on around. Give us your name and any additional information you'd like to share.
My name is Mike Pittard, and Danielle described everything that I want to do with the property. She pretty much described it real well, so I really don't have anything further to add to that.
Any questions? Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We have this open for a public hearing. Anyone else? Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on it?
Move be approved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion be approved.
Second.
Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper.
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item we have is a request by Robert Sweet, who is requesting a front yard setback requirement of 40 foot. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2021-02 involves a property located at 860 Old Woodbury Pike. It's a request for a variance relief of 25 feet from the front yard setback requirement of 40 feet for a structure to be located in the RL zone. And this is the site in question. The applicant would like to add an addition, and I would like to clarify what I went over earlier in the pre-meeting. According to the building department, in December 7th, a permit was pulled by the applicant to legally convert the interior space of that structure into a dwelling unit. At the time, the applicant had indicated they wanted to build an addition, a garage addition, and a permit was issued. However, that permit indicated he had to meet setbacks. It was then discovered that the applicant was going to encroach into the front yard and was advised to go to the planning department and apply for a variance. Now, the backstory, the history about the zoning compliance form still stands. He still needs to plat the property before he can get issued a certificate of occupancy. However, we're here to discuss just the garage addition that will encroach into the front yard. The garage will not encroach any further than the driveway that you see established on the aerial photographs. He would like to utilize the existing drive and be able to enter the garage using this drive. The site, the way it's configured, and the acute angle that is formed at that northern boundary, any further addition that would be a logical extension of the existing structure would encroach into the front yard. The applicant feels that they only need 20 feet. However, because of the way the property is situated, and the fact that we do not have a survey to take a measurement from, we advertise a 25-foot relief request, because until we see a plat and see the actual distances, we didn't want to advertise less than what the applicant needed. Now, the site itself meets the conditions for variance relief, especially number 1 and number 2. And we find that the request meets the criteria for variance approval. We did receive one phone call, and they indicated that they were not opposed to the request for variance approval. And these are photos of the surrounding site. This is the yard area that you would see the garage addition. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this, or is it a call-in?
No, I did not have anyone sign up to speak.
Never know.
Right. No.
You'll give us your name and any additional information you have.
My name is, excuse me, Robert Sweat. I'm actually the homeowner.
Any questions? Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak on it. Close the public hearing. Entertain a motion on it.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Renee and a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Joe Machoto.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
William Harper.
Yes.
Renee Curtis.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item is a request by Hebed Hanna, who is requesting a special exemption approval establishing a dwelling. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2021-03 involves the property located at 1120 Kingwood Lane. They are seeking special exception approval for the establishment of an accessory dwelling unit involving a property located in the RM zone. It's a 5-acre parcel, and the applicant would like to build an addition to their home to accommodate an accessory dwelling unit. That accessory dwelling unit will exceed the 25% maximum square footage of the principal dwelling. Therefore, it requires special exception approval before they could pull the permits for that accessory dwelling unit. We did receive a couple calls regarding this request. No one indicated any opposition. And the size of the attached addition will be 1,500 square feet, and the principal dwelling's 1,914 square feet, and it measures 78% of the principal dwelling. And I believe the applicant is here to answer any questions. They are on the Zoom call. Okay.
They're online?
Yes, sir.
All right. Would you go ahead, please?
Yes, my name is Habib Hanna, and I'm trying just to add the space for my mother-in-law to move her in, and that's all.
Any questions? Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Motion approved.
Have a motion to be
Second.
approved.
I'll
Have a
second it.
second.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item we have is a request by Gina Pate, who is requesting a accessory dwelling. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2021-04 involves the property located at Pleasant Run Road. They are seeking special exception approval for the establishment of an accessory dwelling unit involving the property located in the RM zone. This is the existing property, and the applicant would like to convert the existing garage into a dwelling unit for a family member. The site measures .67 acres, and therefore it does not meet the by right conditions for an accessory dwelling unit, and they need special exception approval before they can pull permits for the conversion of the garage into a dwelling unit. We did receive a couple phone calls regarding this request. However, after learning the nature of the request, the callers did not indicate that they were opposed to the request.
Okay. Do we have anyone here representing this request? Is this a call-in?
Yes. Gina Pate is here with my contractor, Mike Benningfield.
Say that again.
My name is Gina Pate. I'm here with my contractor.
Do you have anything you want to add to this?
No.
Okay. Thank you for calling in. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. Entertain a motion on it.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion that be approved?
I'll second it.
Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. We have the request by Southern Lifestyles Homes, Alcorn Properties, and this is special exemption approval to establish an accessory dwelling. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2021-005 involves a property located at 610 Rucker Lane. They are seeking special exception approval for the establishment of an accessory dwelling unit involving a property located in the RM Medium Density Residential Zoning District. The site is a 2.03 acre parcel. The parcel that's identified on the aerial represents the parcel before it was platted. We are looking at it's lot 2 of the platted subdivision. They are under home is under construction upon the property. The home will have 2 floors measuring 3,735 square feet, and a basement floor that will have a kitchen and a bathroom and could be lived in independently, that measures 1,800 square feet. Although it's not the intention, according to the applicant, it's not the intention of the future owner to utilize it as a separate dwelling unit. Since it meets the definition of a dwelling unit, we are processing it as an accessory dwelling unit. It will measure 48% of the principal dwelling, this 1,800 square foot ADU, and because of it exceeding the 25% max, it requires special exception approval. We did receive several calls regarding this request, but no one indicated any opposition. And this is the home that's under construction and the surrounding neighborhood. And there's actually another home being constructed on the adjacent lot. And that concludes our
Do we
presentation.
have anyone here representing this request?
Thank you. Good evening, board members. My name is David Alcorn, and I'm with Alcorn Properties and Southern Lifestyle Homes. This is a home we have under construction. It has an unfinished, which is rare in Rutherford County, walkout basement. In this unfinished walkout basement, we are plumbing it for an additional kitchen, bath area. The client that we're building it for is present. The intention is not for a rental of any type. It's a large home, and they want to put a pool in the backyard eventually and kind of have it more as a recreational entry area to have a kitchen and such like that.
Any questions? You did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Open this for a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak on this. Close the public hearing. We
Mr.
have a
Chairman,
motion
I
on
make a motion to approve it.
Second, please.
Have a motion to be approved. Have a second. 2 seconds. All right. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Congratulations
And-
on getting a basement in Rutherford County.
And the last item is a request by Jimmy Smith. This is the exception for a dog boarding and grooming facility. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2021-06 involves the property at 926 J.D. Todd Road. It's a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a dog boarding and grooming facility upon the property located in the AR Agricultural Residential Zoning District. It is a 5-acre parcel. It was recently rezoned to AR to allow the applicant to approach the board for special exception approval for a kennel facility. This was born of a code enforcement complaint late last year, and the applicant, once they were notified they needed special approval, they contacted staff and they opted to downzone the property and approach the board for special exception approval. They are seeking to operate the dog boarding and grooming facility on the 5-acre parcel, and it will contain 12 units with a maximum capacity of 24 dogs. There will be no new structures built. They are going to utilize an existing structure. Their hours of operation will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they do propose to have a sign on the property advertising the business. And so staff posted a sign. We had informational calls. No one indicated being in opposition to this request. In fact, I think we're going to have a similar request next month, another property down zone to AR. But these are photos of the surrounding area. And if the board has any concerns about the impact of noise to the immediate area, they can incorporate some conditions requiring maybe some soundproofing to the existing structure or additional screening like fencing and vegetation that would minimize the impact of the area where the dogs will be housed or playing. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? Hi. Come around and just give us your name and any additional information you
My name is Tammy Smith.
Share.
I'm Jimmy Smith, my wife Tammy Smith. Danielle explained everything, what we're doing, have been, when we started the kennel, and we have, several people that board with us for, babysitting their babies. So anyway, and my wife Tammy, she does the grooming, and it's it's us. It's our operation. It's not, a lot of employees. It's not a lot of traffic. It's, one comes here, one comes there, drop the dog off, She makes them pretty, sends them home, and I do the grunt work. We take the dogs out for walks and things like that. But, since we've been operating, we've had, all the Cascade Falls community and Fall Creek community, and now with all the other development coming in around our area, everybody's, oh, we're so thankful y'all are here, so, and we've, had no complaints from neighbors about the building. The existing building there is insulated, so it takes barking noise down and everything like that. And of course, it's not anywhere close to a house anyway. So, and the property next to it that you talked about earlier, of course, I can't say if anybody would ever build there or not, but I was, and I don't know for a fact about the soil, but I was told that it had been a soil site developed for a home at some point. I don't see how, to be honest about it, because it's low in the back there. But if that were the case, then by all means, if anything needed to be done and I don't know how long she and I are going to be boarding dogs, to be honest about it. We planned it for our, I guess you could call the semi-retirement plan.
You'll be boarding how many dogs? Up to how many?
Up to 24.
24.
We have 12 units in the facility.
It's inside facility covered?
Yes.
And cages in there for them?
Yes, sir.
Special.
And then
you'll be doing grooming as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions?
I've just got one. Is it, when you take them walking, are they always on a leash, or do you take them off?
Definitely.
For that?
Always on a leash.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Does your place include an outdoor play area where you, at 8 o'clock in the morning, you let them all go run?
Not all at one time, no. We do have an outdoor turnout just directly behind the building. It's
How
just
many dogs are you going to let out there at one time?
usually one or two at the most. Yeah, we don't.
You don't let the whole bunch
No.
of them go out?
No,
we're real
Barking
careful.
race.
We're not into breaking up dog fights.
Thank you.
The facility I'm familiar with, each dog has its own outside exit, I guess you could say. And when they do let all those dogs out, one at a time, they're all outside, separated, however, but outside. It is very loud. I can hear it in bed if the TV's not on. So I was just wondering, you're not going to have that type of capacity? And
We do not have that. No.
it's hard to find a good groomer. They stay overnight?
Yes.
So you're boarding them also?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you talk about for the grooming?
Well, no,
All
boarding.
the
You do
above.
boarding and grooming?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What about the county requirements for waste removal?
Well, it goes in trash bags and we haul it off.
Let me ask you one other question. I'm assuming this would be all healthy dogs. You would not take in dogs that are sick or need.
Yeah, they all have to
vet.
have,
Pardon?
their
You
their
have
shot records and all
a
of that.
procedure by which you go
They
by.
all have to provide their up-to-date shot record, vaccines and everything, and we keep all that on file.
Before they ever come on the property.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this. And I see our old friend, Commissioner Rather, who used to be here with us. Sure. Go ahead.
I'd just like to add, we did get one call on this. That's how we established the case on it, and that call was not a complaint. It was strictly that there was a business that they believed was unimproved. So that was the only call that we got on this.
We're 6 feet apart, so I'm not wearing a mask. Feel like I came back home for a little while. Miss all y'all. with the exception of Nick. I see him all the time. All right, so this is in my district. I have gotten 0 calls at all. And I've got to know the Smiths just a little. I don't know them very well, but I have family on J.D. Todd Road. I have family on Claude Jones Road, which is adjacent. Nobody said anything. And this is, in my opinion, based on talking to them, I've driven by the property, I've seen it. This is not necessarily about making money. Now, part of it is, I think the majority of it is, they want to take care of pets, especially Mrs. Smith. I think she does the majority of work. So they love pets, and quite honestly, I love this being in my district, because I have 2 dogs at home, and we have trouble when we leave town and go to Florida or up in the mountains. We have a hard time figuring out where the dog's going to go, so I now have a place to bring my dogs. But I just want to say, my understanding is in the beginning, they came to the county and tried to do the right thing. Apparently there was some confusion. Was that a shock? There was some confusion. They thought they did the right thing, and then they found out they didn't. When I was on this board, it used to irritate me to death, because I thought people had the mentality of it's easier to get forgiveness than it is permission. I do not believe, any part of me believes, that these folks came here to get forgiveness. They tried to get permission, they tried to do the right thing, and quite honestly, guys, y'all know it, it's confusing sometimes, but they're here to get approval. They've tried to do the right thing, and I think the right thing is to approve it. And again, I've had no complaints at all. Do y'all have any questions of me?
Any questions?
I do. As a former county commissioner, I want to thank you for coming up here and giving us your input and a recommendation instead of talking in circles. Because when I came up here as a commissioner, I made a recommendation, whether it's right or wrong.
Yes.
I give you a recommendation, and I appreciate that.
These are the people I work for. I don't work for the mayor or any other commissioner. I work for them. Now, I will say that maybe next time I call somebody and let them know I'm coming, so I'm not the last guy on the agenda, but we'll deal with that later. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's always good to see you. We'll open this. We have a public hearing on this. Anyone else?
I knew you were going.
We'll close the public hearing to have a motion on it.
Move to accept.
Second.
Have a motion over here. Bill, have a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Joe Machado.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
William Harper.
Yes.
Renee Curtis.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. It is approved. Anything else come before the board?
No, sir.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.